All right, so as a laptop guy, because I'm someone whose main computer is a laptop, I'm constantly looking for that perfect laptop mouse, right? I want one that's wireless, but I also want it to have really good battery life, and I also want it to have a high performance sensor, something that's responsive and is good for playing games. And it's remarkably hard to find. There's lots of mice with really good battery life, but mediocre sensors, or gaming mice with great sensors, but with weaker battery life. They're not that mix that I'm looking for. Today, Razer is announcing this thing, the Razer Orochi V2. And this seemingly checks all the boxes that I would want in a high-performance laptop mouse. It's a gaming mouse, right? It's got PTFE feet, it's got a high-performance gaming sensor, and it also claims a 425-hour battery life. And that's high-performance, 1000 hertz polling, like it's all the good stuff. And there's also a lower energy consumption Bluetooth connected mode that's 950 hours. But the claims are a little bit misleading. So in order to hit that kind of crazy battery life, you need to use this thing, a lithium-based AA battery. Now this is included in the box. I've had this in here for 2 weeks and I've logged all my use. I've put in, at the time of this recording, 83 and a half hours of mouse use. And I'm almost at full battery still. It's a very long battery. But here's the weird thing. If I remove this lithium battery and I replace it with a regular AA alkaline-based battery, this battery life drops from 425 down to 260. It's a very significant dip in battery life performance. And it's not just the big dip, it's that it's now very similar in battery life to its competitor, the G305 from Logitech. This is a very popular mouse, and this is a battery-based mouse, and they claim 250 hours on their website and their marketing material. Anyone can use that lithium battery and get elevated numbers. It's a little bit strange to me. Not to take away from the mouse, it's a good mouse, but overly aggressive marketing never sits right with me. So I want you guys to be aware that if you're interested in this mouse and you're seeing, those big battery claims, it's because it's measured with a special battery. Okay, so the mouse itself, the weight is, even the weight is a little bit misleading. So they claim it to be less than 60 grams, but that number is measured, there's an asterisk there, without the battery. So 60 grams is still very light, noticeably lighter than a G305, but I think putting that 60 gram number on a box is deceptive. It's a light mouse for sure, but it's strange to me that they would market and advertise this weight when it's in an inoperable state. Like, you can't do anything with this mouse at 60 grams. It needs a battery, so I feel like that really should be in the weight of this device. Like, this is marketed as a 99 gram mouse because that's how much it weighs with the battery in there. This is probably 73 and change when the battery's inside. Another thing to keep in mind, lithium batteries, the AA's, are a little bit less than an alkaline battery in weight, like 8 grams lighter. It seems insignificant, like, we're getting sweaty over 8 grams, but when it comes to mice and these types of weights, 8 grams is relatively significant. But that's another reason why the weight is a little bit lower on paper, because it's a lithium battery. It's a solid shelled mouse, so there's no perforations, there's no honeycombing, and there's also no RGB lighting on this thing, which is very rare for a Razer product. It has 6 buttons, and I really like the main buttons. There's no wobble on the top shell, and I also like the sensor positioning. It's kind of closer up to the fingertips, which I personally like, and it's got a false ambidextrous shape, so in the sense that it's symmetrical, somewhat ambidextrous, but the side buttons are only on one side. So if you're left-handed, you wouldn't be able to hit those with your thumb. The side of the mouse is more comfortable to me than the G305. There's a bit of an inward curve to it that fits my thumb nicely. It also has 2 colors, white, black, as well as some custom options, which I'll show you in a second. And there's also PTFE feet, and inside you can power it with either a double or a AAA battery, as well as using either 2.4 gigahertz on a dongle or Bluetooth to connect it to your device. And this goes for $69.99, so $70 mouse. Now, this is a small mouse. It'll work for both palm and claw grips, but if you're used to having a big hump on the back of your mouse or like a big tail end of it to rest your palm, it doesn't have that. This is definitely more suited to people that prefer small mice. And when you pop up the lid, or the top of it, you have access to your 2 battery slots, one for AA, one for AAA, and they're not to be used simultaneously. It's like one or the other. And basically, if you use a AA battery, you get the full battery life because it's the bigger of the 2, but if you are weight conscious, like you really want the lightest version of this mouse possible, you'd go with a AAA battery, but your battery life would obviously be shorter. This angled positioning of the battery slots is actually one of its more unique features. So normally when you have a battery operated mouse, and this is a G305 I'll use as an example, the battery is mounted in a kind of vertical position. It's just straight up down, and you can feel it in the weight characteristics of these mice. Like you'll feel it, it's almost like there's too much junk in the trunk, right? When you're moving your mouse, especially if you whip it quick, the back end of it, because it's weighted like this, it kind of, right? It just kind of swings out a little bit. You'll notice it if you use these mice enough. And I think anyone who's watching this video, if you used a G305, you have one right now, you can just tell that there's something in the back end of this because it's such a dense battery sitting at the bottom of it, right? This is, because it's angled, it gives a more distributed weight feel. It's not perfect. Like when I close this thing up and I move my hand around, you can still tell that there's something in there. It doesn't feel like a regular, like a lithium ion cell-based mouse because it's still quite dense, the AA, but it's noticeably better than a vertical orientation. But the overall feel of this mouse for me is good. It's not my favorite shape, right? I like my mice a little bit bigger with a hump that's a little bit more pronounced, but I think for people that like small mice, this is an excellent shape, and the weight of it and the overall feel of it is on point. Now let's talk about performance. So real simply, this has excellent performance. Now I wouldn't say that it has better performance than the G305. This also had a really good sensor, but testing this thing out over the past couple of weeks feels really good. It's responsive, it's very consistent. There's nothing I would complain about this sensor. Having this kind of battery life on a sensor of this caliber is excellent. But I gotta say, it's not that different to me in terms of the sensor performance to the G305. But keep in mind that this kind of performance is only present when you use that 2.4 gigahertz dongle. If you connect it with Bluetooth, the performance goes to crap and it'll just feel like a regular office mouse at that point. So I highly recommend using that dongle if you can. There is the presence of onboard memory. It's the ability to kind of load your preferences onto this mouse and then just do it once and you just get rid of that Razer software if you want. And there's also the availability of custom faceplates. So these are colorful faceplates that you can use to swap out on the top of the device, and they have a cool look, but they don't feel quite the same to me. Like the texture on this feels a little bit better to me than the customized faceplates. Like the colored ones have a slightly more sticky texture to them when you're using them, but they are a really cool way and a really simple way to add more color to your setup if that's what you're looking for. But the big question is, how good is this mouse, right? Would I actually call this the best laptop mouse? Like, I'm sure Razer would love to put into their marketing material. Like, this is very clearly a laptop-focused mouse, and would I call it the best laptop mouse? Maybe. Like, sure. I just wish the marketing hot sauce wasn't so thick on this device. Okay, that wraps up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. I'll see you guys next time.